PokerStatic.com. We bring you the interviews you want to hear. Now with your hosts, Bret Oliverio and Eric Bickel, the Poker Static Hot Seat.
What's up? Welcome to the Poker Static Hot Seat. Bret Oliverio, Eric Bickel, and joining us now, probably the most talked about poker player in the world right now, Dan Cates. Of course, you know him as Jungleman 12. Dan, what's going on?
Not much, just hanging out.
Now, you are in a home, obviously, and I saw a weight bench in the background as you were moving your camera around earlier. So is that your setup where you play all your poker?
Yeah, it's not really that elaborate other than a big computer to my left. It's just the basement that I live in.
And this is where all the battles have gone down, right? Is this your primary location? Because you're a student at Maryland. Do you live at home and commute to Maryland?
Yeah, currently that's what I'm doing.
So that room right there is solely responsible for, I don't know, $2, $3, $4 million right there. That room.
Yep, this is the room of champions. Well, the room of victories, I guess.
That's pretty sick. And we don't have to go through your whole poker story. I mean, you've written wells, you've done interviews. It's all pretty well documented. You've only been playing for a few years. You rose through the ranks. But generally, you were playing a little bit live, right? Some small games, 50 cents a dollar, $2 live games. Made a little deposit. And what I found interesting is you lost for the first 6 to 9 months, but yet you still had this unwavering belief that you were going to beat this game. Is that accurate?
Well, it's not 6 to 9 months. It was more like about 3 months when I was playing live against players that were a bit more experienced than myself, actually. And then I started playing online 3 months after that. And then I played it, I dropped down significantly in stakes. I started playing $5 or $10 buy-ins. And I gradually worked my way up online. And then 6 months later, so it took me a total of 9 months for me to actually make money playing. But after that, it was pretty much smooth sailing.
The other thing that I found interesting is that, once you got going and once poker really became something that you wanted to focus on, that you weren't playing it necessarily for money. You seem to have this belief from the very beginning that, you wanted to play this for renown. You wanted to play this, that was your words, you wanted to play this for notoriety. And money, really, I guess you figured if you became one of the best in the world, the money would come. But I found that to be interesting.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. I wasn't really that keen on. I didn't find it that time. It just wasn't really that much that I wanted for some things, but my parents gave me some money, and I wasn't that keen on spending it, so it wasn't that big. But it was always important for me to just become, just renown is, I guess, a key desire that I have, and that was the basis of just ascending the ranks and just playing everyone. I just wanted to be known.
Now, why is that? Is that what's the psychology behind that? I mean, I guess everyone wants to be popular, whether it's in high school or when you get out of school or with girls. I mean, is that sort of fall in line with the poker world?
I don't know how to answer that question.
No, what I'm saying is, you have this desire you want to be known. You want to be known as the best player in the world. Where does that come from? I mean, a lot of guys are happy just sitting at home, printing money online, and sort of hiding. I mean, where does your desire just to be known as the best poker player in the world come from? Are you a competitive guy?
No. Yeah. I'm really just a really competitive person, and at whatever I do, if I I put lots of energy into it, I invariably just try to become really absurdly good at it. And poker's similar also. And I was just really interested in poker, so I decided to. I just kept practicing and kept thinking, how can I be better and better? And I always just looked for ways to improve and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm just really competitive by nature.
Now, essentially, at this point in your career, I mean, you're playing a variety of different forms of poker, but you're known for being a heads-up, no-limit specialist, Of course, we'll get into the Dirt Challenge and all of the sort of the riveting details of how that's developed and how that's come along so far. But is that how you started out? Did you start? I know you started out playing sit and goes, particularly online. Were they heads up sit and goes? Did you start out playing full ring, 6 max? How did that come about? That development.
I started out playing probably 6 max or like shorthanded-ish games. When I was playing live, I played shorthanded, and then I moved to sit and goes, and eventually playing like a really taggy style. And kind of killing the games, actually. I had 15% ROI over a pretty large sample. And then eventually, one day I just started playing heads up and then realized, well, wait, this is way more profitable because I made like 3 or 4 times as much as I normally make in like a day. So I just decided to play that. And it also seemed like I was like inherently already pretty good at it.
Can you talk a little bit about sort of your mindset when you first started playing and you actually were going through those losing months? I guess you weren't playing within your bankroll. It sort of affected you mentally. Maybe you were tilting a little bit. When you were actually losing, I know it was only for a short period of time, but how exactly did you handle that? And, how exactly did you go from becoming a losing player to getting over that hump to consistently win?
Well, first thing that's important for doing that, just dropping down in stakes to stakes that don't really matter, which is what I eventually did. And as far as like mindset during that period goes, I was definitely scared money. I was definitely scared of like all the decisions I made just every single time. Just had no idea what was going on. Even for some time, I just felt like I couldn't really learn the game. At some brief periods in time, I just felt like it was hopeless to actually. Definitely not a period that I recall enjoying. Not to mention, none of the other players in the game seem to respect me very much, and that's not good. Also, that also hurt my self-esteem a little bit. But I mean, I guess the key thing to actually go from the phase to going to be a winning player is drop down to stakes that you don't care about. You don't care about the result. Preferably also play with people that respect or play with people that you're friends with. Too. That I guess that helps too. And just not really think of it as a big deal. I guess that'd probably be the less the result bears on you psychologically, the better, especially in the early stages.
As you started to go up, and you've talked about this many times, as you started to go up in the stakes, you went up fairly quickly. Once you got going, you were fairly successful. You were pretty aggressive with your bankroll management. I think you've advocated, in the lower stakes, maybe 20 buy-ins or so. Then as you get up to the mid stakes, maybe 30 buy-ins. Just keep pushing it. I'm trying to figure out what my question was. Oh, did you ever have a problem with just like the money? Like, okay, like I know where you've come from. We talked about it before we went on the air. It's a nice suburban, but it's an average neighborhood. It's not like you grew up with a lot of money, I'm guessing. So as you started to make a lot of money and you started to move up in the stakes, did that have any effect on you? You're like, oh my God, I can't believe I just lost $10,000 or, whatever, as you're starting to move up. Did that ever impact you at all? Because a lot of people can't get over that psychological hurdle.
It impacted me a little bit. I would have to say that it impacts me less than it would most players. Honestly, for the most part, I just don't really think my thought process doesn't really go into oh man, I just lost a car unless someone brings it up. I just think, oh man, I just lost a number on a screen. I mean, it hurt more my pride than anything to lose that much money, just because it just has somewhat negative implications on the future, negative implications on my ability. I would become more tilted if I, say, lost 20 buy-ins at a low stake. Well, I'd become a little bit more tilted anyways than if I lost, I don't know, 5 bucks or a higher amount of money.
Gotcha.
Let's see.
I want to ask you about your buddy. You're not in danger too, and you said in your well that it's good to have friends in the poker community, and I guess he's your boy. I mean, sort of who is he? I read a little bit about him. I guess he's starting to gain some notoriety as well. I mean, obviously, I like his screen name. It's cool. But how exactly did you guys become friends? Just through poker?
He was one of the players that I first played against, or in the live cash games that I first started in. he was one of those guys. He was probably one of the best players there.
And then,
Oh wow! So then
did you start out?
He started.
Go ahead, Bret.
So he started. So he started playing online with you, and you guys sort of jumped in the online game together.
Kind of. We kind of first started doing our own thing, and then we decided sort of to work together, I guess. And then we just gradually moved up and shared our knowledge and stuff like that.
Now, was he one of the few players that like you respected his knowledge? Like you could tell you and he had similar, I don't know, thoughts and philosophies. You could tell obviously he was a bright guy. Like what was it that attracted you to him?
Can you repeat that last few words?
Yeah, what is it about him that made it seem like, oh, this would be a good guy to kind of grow up in the game together with? I mean, was it simply a matter of you guys' personalities meshing, or did you recognize right away, this is a bright guy, this is somebody that I can learn from, and vice versa?
Both. Our personalities definitely mesh a decent amount, and also it was pretty obvious that he knew what he was doing, his thought process was clear, and stuff like that. I definitely think he has a lot of talent in this game. Right.
You said that you did a lot of reading early on and studying as you tried to learn the game. I know you read a lot of books, and some of the training sites were very helpful. You're an instructor at Card Runners. Talk about that, because I find it interesting that while you use books to influence you a lot as you were coming up in the game, today you wouldn't really recommend somebody just like grabbing a book or two in particular. For you, you'd say videos would probably be the way to go. Join the leading sites, the Blue Fires, the Card Runners, the Deuces Cracked. Is that true?
Yeah, that is true. But that's not to say the books aren't useful. They're reasonably useful, especially if you're playing against a soft field, and they're probably good for just learning the game in the first place. Although even better, especially when you're like trying to learn how to beat mid-stakes online, books just won't cut it anymore. Videos are like the only way to go once you get to a certain point, because books just don't have that kind of technical knowledge that these days is required to beat like any particularly competent opponents.
Is there one book that still holds up though? Like if you had to recommend one book to somebody, the one to kind of read at bed, at night before he went to sleep, is there one book that would hold up?
I think Sklansky's books. I haven't read all of them, and I haven't read like the entirety of them. But from what I've read of them, they're actually pretty reasonable. This knowledge applies today, just not. I mean, yeah, for the most part, it still applies. His books are useful, maybe even across any dimension, I guess.
Right.
Why don't you talk a little bit about being an instructor for a training site? Because a lot has been made of a bunch of guys who started doing videos and the results suffered. I mean, who knows whether it's in direct correlation between them making videos or variants, but you sort of went the other way, correct? You started doing videos, your game took off, and it hasn't really dropped off. Of course, if anything, it's only gotten better. Is it tough to sort of give away your trade secrets, or do you kind of hold back, hold some stuff in for yourself? What's that like for you?
Well, obviously I can't give away everything I know. I tend to think that the trend between like losing after they make videos is kind of a coincidence. Although not necessarily. It's possible that maybe learn how to beat them. I used to watch people's videos, and I still do actually, to get an idea of where they're at and their thought processes, just in general to see what they're doing, how they're bluffing, just any kind of information I could get, and maybe occasionally learn some things also. I also tend to think that the people that make videos, like they were established as video makers like while in their prime, and then like they continued to make videos like long after their prime, and then just like I guess stop or something, and then just fell a little bit behind the curve of the up and coming players or something like that. I'm just saying that like it's possible that because they've been along and they've been video producers, already established video producers, say 2 years after they're established, they're no longer quite as competent as they were, and it just happens that over this period they've fallen behind the curve and just not
Isn't that isn't that probably like a natural way of things though? I mean, people become successful. They make a lot of money. Part of the notoriety that goes along with it is making videos. And then there's a natural complacency that sets in, right? Now all of a sudden you got money. Now you have other opportunities, maybe business ventures. Now you're partying more. I know that you've got some party bus things there that you've been into in the last year or so. So you're trying to enjoy yourself a little bit. A natural complacency will lead to that, right?
Yeah, and of course it's important to try to fight that complacency and just keep a high level of awareness, pretty much, especially in like what your career leads to. In this case, obviously, just how good the opposition is.
Right. One thing I find interesting is a lot of the big players, I don't think these days they rely on a HUD nearly as much as maybe a player like you may or may not. It seems to me from reading up on this interview that you really strongly, recommend using a HUD, particularly when you're playing, 6, 8 tables at a time, maybe a heads-up play. You think it's kind of critical. In fact, I think I read somewhere where you said, correct me if I'm wrong, but you don't believe you can be beaten by someone if they're not using a HUD. You may not think you can be beaten at all anyway, but if they don't have a HUD, you don't think you can be beaten if they don't have a HUD. Is that true?
Yeah, I do think that.
And isn't it also true that Durr doesn't really use a HUD?
I tend to believe that. I just don't think there's any way that, like, from all the information that I use, regarding the HUD, just with all the like subtle things you can take advantage of, it's just an extremely powerful tool, and like from so many perspectives, it's just like a massive handicap to not use one versus someone who is using one properly.
Well, why don't we jump into the Durr challenge? Sort of what made you want to take this on? I mean, why not stay away from the Durr types and sort of just beat all the other guys and make your millions? Why take this challenge? I mean, obviously it has gained you a large amount of notoriety. Was that part of the reason? Maybe you think look, I have an edge on this guy, heads up, no limit hold'em. Sort of talk about your mindset there.
Well, first of all, yeah, like you said, it does bring me a lot of notoriety, which is cool. I legitimately do think I have an edge on him, and not just, I think it's not even like, well, it appears to not be a marginal one by a lot of, from a lot of different pieces of information, but, I mean, I do think that, that's all I have to say on that, and then another factor is actually surprisingly difficult to get action these days, specifically at no limit heads up for me.
Right. I'm curious as to how it actually developed, because I'm under the understanding and the impression that he kind of challenged you, right? That you were kind of chatting back and forth. It wasn't that you approached him, and I know that before the official challenge, you guys had logged a decent amount of hands, and you were up, I don't know, I'd read somewhere where you were up maybe you're up $1 million on him, maybe lifetime, or $500,000 or something, a decent amount of money, and you were actually surprised that he would want to take you on. Was it like a grudge thing? Like, do you guys have a mutual respect for each other, or is it just like, fuck you, I'm better than you?
I mean, it's hard to, I can't say that I don't have any respect. I mean, hopefully he has respect for me also, so, I don't think it's like, we don't just like say, oh, you're a piece of shit, I just want to stomp on you, or anything like that. I assume it's something of mutual respect. Let's see. What else was there?
Did he approach you initially?
Yeah, it seemed like it, and that really confused me, actually. I was just thinking, why is this guy giving me 3-to-1 to play him when I've been playing him this whole time? Or maybe he knows something special or something. It just seemed so outlandish because, in terms of just looking at the sample size of what's happened, it's just doesn't seem like, unless he knows something special, it doesn't seem like the wisest move in the world to make. And that's what, the fact that he offered the challenge in the first place caught me kind of off guard, I guess.
Do you think, did he not know that you were up so much against him? Was he simply kind of unaware?
I think that it appears from what I've read that from what I've read and perhaps from the fact that he issued this challenge in the first place, that he's not fully aware but has like some rough idea. Obviously, I have run hot against him, and he thinks I've run hot against him for certain. And I guess he just thinks he has an edge and wants to schedule 50,000 hands with me and take all my money or something like that.
Yeah, but Dan, my read is on this situation, just from talking to you right now, you think it's insane he's giving you 3-1, and on top of that, you think you're a better poker player. Correct?
Well, I'm not so sure if I'm a better poker player than him, but I do think I am better at Hold'em currently. I mean, obviously I wouldn't take the challenge if I didn't think that.
Right. What is it about him? I know that you had played, obviously the matches before that we discussed, and you were up a decent chunk. I think you had also said that he had already adjusted to you before the challenge, that you had seen adjustments. So it wasn't like, I'm assuming it wasn't like, well, you found these leaks that he's got and that you've already had him solved. He's already adjusted to you in the past. How are you so confident that you'll be able to adjust to his adjustments?
Well, first of all, I mean, I guess I can't really go that much into that because it would tell you too much about like what my plans are. But basically, I'll just be like really, really aware of what's going on, and in Hold'em I've seen pretty much everything, just absolutely everything. I've had a ton of experience handling every situation, and I just think I'll be ready for anything.
Right.
I can't imagine what he'd throw at me that could possibly, like what kind of strategy or whatever that he could possibly do that would get the best of me.
We should say at the time of this taping, you can correct me if I'm wrong, Dan, that you are up, according to DurChallenge.com, you are up, let me see, 692K over 2 sessions, almost 7,000 hands. Is that the most accurate, up-to-date results?
Yeah, or it's very close.
And you had played Isildur in the past, right? And I think maybe had not a good outcome, right? I don't know if Isildur ran super hot against you or whatever. I think you even commented at some point that he made some sick adjustments to what you were doing, maybe unlike any other player you had played before.
It surprised me how well he actually adjusted, because I was adjusting in a way that would require it would just be unconventional for someone to adjust properly to what he was doing. And also about that, for the first, my results on like PTR and stuff like that are a little bit misleading versus Isildur. In terms of binds, I'm actually not down that much versus him. When I first started playing him, when he was playing like 25-50 for whatever reason, I was up like 18 binds on him, and then like I played him at a few times at higher stakes. And I think I lost the first time I played him. I lost like 160 at 100, 200. Then I won a little bit at 50, 100. And then I played him again at 100, 200, and that was when I lost like almost 500K. So in terms of buy-ins, just looking at that, after those several sessions, I think I was down like something like that. So yeah, I'm not really getting quite destroyed by him. But in the one session, yeah, he adjusted really, really well to what I was doing. Like, I was bluffing in certain spots that most players just wouldn't be bluffing in, I guess. And it made a lot of sense to bluff versus specifically Isildur for this reason. And I can't get too much into that. But he was adjusting by calling more in those spots that normally it just wouldn't be at all to call in. And that was one way that it was just completely destroyed. Just figure out, I guess, how one of the biggest ways I was exploiting him, and it just kind of, basically. And it had mostly to do with the hero calling, I guess.
Wow.
And also running hot.
Now, as that's occurring, do you see what's unfolding, or do you have to kind of review your play later to see how he was getting you? You know, in other words, can you make these adjustments on the fly next time when you play him?
More so than I could have at that time, I'd imagine. I'd hope so. I understood what was going on, at
Would you?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely gave me more experience for doing it better this today, and like hope experience and just be able to adjust quicker in the future when a similar event happens, and just use that experience to my advantage, basically.
Right. Getting back to the dirt challenge, have you noticed Tom adjusting his play in a similar fashion, or have there been not that many adjustments yet? You guys haven't played that many hands.
I can't talk too much about that, but one thing I'll say is that my dynamic with Tom is substantially different than that of versus Isolder. I mean, style is quite a bit different. That much I'll say, but I can't go too much into like how he's adjusting or like what my plans are for the future or anything like that.
How much studying are you doing? You know, I know it's only been through 7,000 hands, but are you literally reviewing, a third of those hands, half of those hands? Are you sort of just putting the hands behind you and moving on? How much homework are you doing for Tom?
I'm doing more homework than I've ever really done, honestly, but it's still not that much. More homework per session than I've ever really done. Mostly just reviewing the big hands, and also just in general some frequencies on streets and stuff like that. Just seeing if he's changed anything, stuff like that. Basically. So far, I haven't done that much.
So are you still chipping hands to You're Not in Danger too, or is he sort of helping you out, walking you through some hands or reviewing some hand histories?
We've never actually shared hand histories. We haven't shipped hand histories or anything like that. We do talk about the weaknesses in Dur's game and how to exploit him, obviously, a little bit. But I mean, I guess we haven't even really talked that much because lately we just haven't looked that much. You're Not in Danger seems pretty confident that I'll win also.
Well, here's what needs to go down. After this challenge, regardless of what happens, we need a Tom, because he's boys with You're in Danger. So Tom and Z first, you and You're Not in Danger. I mean, that's a no-brainer, right? Just like a 2-on-2
tag team.
Yeah, put up like $10 million, and we can all have fun watching you guys go crazy. Would you be down?
Well, yeah, me and You're Not in Danger would be down, I'm sure. You're Not in Danger, he feels like he's the... So, I'd hold him.
He feels like what? He feels like he's the best?
He feels like he feels like he can show up. You're in Danger, I'd hold him, of course. Yeah, I'm sure we'd be down to have a two-way, a team heads-up battle to the death or whatever.
All right, we'll try to set that
awesome.
up. I want to know what it's like. I mean, again, you're only 20 years old. You're still there, living with your parents right now until whenever you decide to move out. Okay, so you lose. I think maybe you said your worst session with Isolder, you lost maybe $500,000. Do you go downstairs and kick the family dog? Do you do you punch a hole in the wall? Does your mom know that you just lost $500,000 overnight? And then when you have this great session against Dur, and everyone in the world is paying attention to it, are you fist pumping and going out and buying yourself a Rolex the next day?
Well, I haven't bought myself a Rolex yet, but yeah, I mean, obviously when you lose that much, versus Isildur, I was just heartbroken almost. I just went to sleep and just didn't go to school for a week. I just felt really, really upset. Didn't really kick anything, fortunately, but I just felt really terrible. And then after I lost another 90K to Z Justin after losing the 500 to Isildur, I legitimately thought maybe I was going broke or something like that for a moment. Yeah, it's just a really terrible feeling. But obviously, when I win that much playing the third challenge, just feel like I can do anything. I feel like I'm on top of the world.
Right.
It's a very big difference in feeling. Just it's like a feeling of euphoria.
Can your parents and your family, I don't know if you have brothers or sisters, but can your family tell your mood differences? My wife knows when I'm winning or losing, and we're talking about, $100. I got to imagine your family and your friends can tell when you're winning or losing.
Yeah, for sure. Maybe not my friends friends, actually, because outside of the poker world, unless I've had like a really bad day or a really good day, I tend not to bring the events that happen in poker to the outside world. I don't really talk about it that much with my friends that aren't into poker themselves. Especially, like, I might be a little bit more irritable if I've lost or something, and I might be a little bit more spazzy if I won, a little bit more hyper, maybe even, you could say.
Right. What's amazing to me is I've seen that, I don't know, I think High Stakes Database has you up something like $3 million in the last year. I mean, who knows what it is? That's between you and the IRS. But what's funny is you haven't really gone out and bought anything. In fact, I think you said you're still driving like an old 98 Lexus that your parents bought you, when you were 15 or 16 years old. What have you done? I know you said you've cashed out some of the money. I know you've invested some of it. But come on, go up, treat yourself, dude. Not just a party bus. Buy a toy.
Oh, I got a nice car.
You did.
I upgraded that.
You did.
Oh, wow. Nice.
Nice.
What kind of car?
It's an ISC 250 Lexus.
Oh, very nice.
Brand new.
That's like the little convertible, right, or no?
Yeah, it's convertible. It's hardtop.
Right. Very nice. What about like?
So when are you gonna buy your mansion? When's that coming?
Well, first live, and then once that's done, I'm probably gonna travel a decent amount within this next year or something like that. Once that's done,
what
mansion?
do your parents know the kind of money that you are making, that you're earning in that room right there? Do they have any concept?
Yeah, they do, and they're really happy for me. They like to talk about it all the time.
Right? They have to be in awe. I mean, do your parents have regular jobs? Do you care to say what your parents do, kind of in a general sense?
Yeah, they have pretty regular jobs. Actually, decent, if not good jobs. My mom is a chemist for the Federal Bureau of Engraving or something like that.
Okay.
And my dad, I guess he's like manages like part of a company for. I'm not sure what company he's working for now, but he does something involving engineering. I'm not totally sure what he does. He does a lot of related things. Computer programming, or a decent amount about computer programming, engineering, some of the things like that. I think he's like somewhere between like engineering and business. I'm not totally sure.
Right.
Now, when you win this sort of money and you're gaining the notoriety that you're gaining, I mean, there's going to be stuff that comes along with it. New friends, chicks, going out more, Vegas. And even you said in your will that as good as you are at poker and math and science, you're not so good at social situations. What's that been like for you to handle, or are you adjusting just fine?
Well, I'm learning gradually, I guess. Yeah, I'm just not the savviest person ever, if that's the right way to talk about it. I guess lately I've been focusing more on that aspect of my life than career or whatever. I'd like to be good at all areas of my life. I'd like to be healthy and also be successful at poker and be successful in social situations and stuff like that too.
Right. What do you like to do? I'm sorry.
Obviously being successful helps in social situations, although having social skills helps even more.
Right.
What were you saying?
What do you like to do outside of poker?
I like to go out and hang with my friends, obviously. I like to, which I play not that much, which, I don't know, it's kind of a good thing, kind of bad thing, too. Oh, mostly a good thing, I guess, because it gives me time to do other things.
What is that you said?
I play also video games like StarCraft 2. Mostly actually just doing social things, like just going out and stuff like that.
Gotcha.
In my free time. And then the other part of the time, just in better shape. Stuff like that. Let's see what else. Yeah, that's pretty much it, I guess.
It's amazing all the success that's come so quickly. Bret, and the guy's not even 21 years old yet. It's absolutely mind-boggling to me.
What did you do in Vegas when you were 20? Were you just kind of hanging out in a house, or?
Well, I met people and went out to all the nice places in And I got into some clubs too. Some friends of mine got some tables, stuff like that. Let's see.
You look older than 20. You look older than 20. Do you have a fake ID? Did you need that?
I mean, most places they check IDs, so yeah, if I was trying to get in, I might need a fake. Unless
Well said.
someone knows, unless someone knows like the people that own the club or something like that.
Right.
Unless there's some special agreement. But
Did you go?
When do you turn 21?
I turned 21 in a few months.
Awesome. Awesome. When you were out in Vegas, did you have one night where you couldn't believe you dropped 10K or 20K at the Rhino or something? Did you have one of those nights?
Yeah, I didn't drop that much. Wanted to. Yeah, I don't want to talk about that much.
Right.
That's funny.
Well, my question is, I mean,
Well, hey,
well, my question is, have you kind of, because when we hear these stories about all these young poker players that go out and they spend 10, 20K, whatever, on champagne and Grey Goose and strippers and everything, you kind of do lose a regard for, the dollar. Have you lost that yet?
As far as money goes, I've lost some regard. $100 doesn't seem like it used to be. It seems like a lot less, obviously. I've lost it a little bit, but I still pay attention to things. Pay attention to how much money I'm spending. I'm not exactly reckless with it.
Right.
I was going to ask, how do you arrange your sessions with Tom? Is it through a third party, or do you guys just kind of hit each other up on Skype, or when do you know when you're going to play next? Obviously it's going to take a long period of time to complete 50,000 hands.
Mostly just hit each other up on AIM and or try to find them online. That seems to be the most reliable. Find each other online. It's not planned out or anything, so I don't actually know when the next challenge is going to be. I never know. So it's a little bit annoying when people ask me when it's
right.
when.
How much advance notice do you need to feel comfortable? Do you just need 15 minutes, or would you like to have a couple hours or a day or two in advance?
15 minutes is probably fine.
That's all you need. Sick. Sick.
Nice.
All right. Well, listen.
Well, listen, man. Yeah, I mean, you seem like a good dude, and you're from the Washington D.C. area, so naturally we're cheering you on.
Big time.
So, yeah, good luck with everything with Tom. You've only played 7,000 hands. You got a long ways to go. So hopefully you continue to run good and play good, and things work out for you. So thanks for coming on our show. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks a lot, buddy. Appreciate it.
All right, so that was Dan Cates. You know him as Jungleman 12. Thanks for checking out the show, and we'll see you next week.
Peace.